Hello and welcome to this episode of the Choose Happiness Show. I'm your host, Lauren Foster, author, happiness teacher, and primal health coach. I am so happy and thrilled and excited to have with me today Lisa Tahir. She is the author of The Chiron Effect, and I'm going to let her tell you more about that. But she's has been recognized by the Dalai Lama, which is so very, very cool. And we're going to talk today about things like the Chiron effect and psychoastrology and things that are very new to me. So I'm very excited to learn from her and with her. Welcome, Lisa.
Lauren, thank you so much for having me on the Choose Happiness show. It's so great to be here with you and our listening audience.
Yeah, and Lisa is also the host of the All Things Therapy podcast, which we'll share more about this. So if you're listening on Insight Timer, you can just go to my bio and the link to my website is there. And we'll have a live video and all of the links that Lisa is going to share with you for free gifts and more information and ways to be in touch with her. And if you're listening to this anywhere else or watching, just look down and you'll see all of the links to all of the things that we talk about today. So first of all, tell us a little bit about you and your experience with your work being recognized by the Dalai Lama. That's got to be just a wonderful feeling.
It is. And, I'll start with I entered therapy when I was 21, and it really inspired me, informed me, and moved me to become a therapist. I'm a licensed social worker in California and Louisiana. So I've done this work since 1998. And I really love helping people find their happiness, as you talk about and write about and share as well. I've come to learn that it's when we're at our happiest that we're able to give the most, contribute the most, and really be who we came here to be. And that's what inspired me to write my book, The Chiron Effect, Healing Our Core Wounds Through Astrology, Empathy, and Self-Forgiveness. And I discovered that, in my mind, in my experience, I was taught to forgive others. And I never realized until recently how that's something we need to do for ourselves in all of the ways that we hold judgments against ourselves, thinking that's how we change. Instead, we really change when we're loving ourselves, when we're approving of ourselves, when we're understanding more of why we do the things we do and come into alignment with our values. And that's what my book really sets to help you come to learn within yourself who you really are, and in the areas you need to strengthen and develop, there are ways to do that. So I'm just going to pause and kind of ask you how that sounds and feels to you.
Oh, it sounds in perfect alignment with the mission that I want to share to the world. So team us, team peace. It's fabulous.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so what is the Chiron effect?
The Chiron effect is, think about in your daily life, you have a routine, your people, places, and friends that you habituate, consist of your daily routine. This is your orbit. This is the frequency that you have in your life. And we are like mini planets. We're like our own solar system. We orbit others and they orbit us. And that's what got me to conceptualize the Chiron effect, realizing that the thoughts we think carry frequency. The vibration, the frequency of loving thoughts is much more pure and high and clear than when we're in depression, when we're in anxiety. That frequency is more chaotic. There's like a level of disturbance within us, and it emanates through our electromagnetic field, and therefore brings back to us like situations, like people. That's the orbit that we're in, like circulating our patterns, our orbit, our frequency. So the Chiron effect is, Chiron itself has a frequency, and it's a planet. It's in astronomy, both a planet and a comet, and it affects us. And I have so many thoughts at once that I want to share, Lauren. Let me just pause.
Okay.
That in our astrological birth chart, like you might know your sun sign. What are you, Lauren? Like, what's your sign?
I'm a Leo.
Okay, you're a Leo. So Chiron is also in your birth chart, but it's going to be in a different sign than your sun sign. It will be in Aries, Gemini, Scorpio, Pisces, for example, just like your sun sign. But what it identifies is your greatest area of vulnerability on a spectrum up to and including core wounding. And so when we have awareness of what these patterns of thought are, for example, Chiron in Aries speaks to a vulnerability up to and including a core wounding and your sense of value and worth. And, so it's something not readily apparent to others, that you might struggle in your self-esteem or valuing yourself. And so you might seek love by doing a lot for others. You believe somehow that you have to give so much all the time, and it often leaves you depleted, but you're not sure how else to be. And so that sets an effect. That's the Chiron effect in play. So once you come to understand what this area of vulnerability is for you, you can start to heal and shift and really, cease so much hard work to be loved and really step into an awareness that you're worthy, you're deserving without doing anything. And then people you start to attract to yourself, those experiences, because you're changing your thought vibration. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Now, so do all Leos have the same Chiron effect, or how do you find out what your
Well, again,
Chiron
it's
sign
different than
is?
your sun sign. So yeah, you would go, I have a chart in my book when you get my book, and as well as a plugin at my website. There's a website I give where you can enter your date of birth, your place of birth, and your time of birth if you have it. That's not necessary though. And it will generate for you your Chiron placement. And some of you watching or listening, you might already have your astrological chart, or you might, already work with an astrologer. You can look to your chart to see where Chiron is, where that planet is, and it'll tell you again if it's in Leo or Scorpio or Pisces, for example. And then in my book, based upon that, I lay out these 12 areas of vulnerability, again, on a spectrum up to and including core wounding, that you can see, how accurate this is for you.
That's so cool. All right. So does this have any relationship to human design?
I love human design, and I know human design, like I'm a manifesting generator. What is your human design?
Projector. I'm a
Projector.
projector. Mhm.
And I feel like it definitely has keys and insights of how come that's your human design. It helped me to understand that for me it's important to create, and yet to approach creating not from that. I was just describing Chiron and Aries. I know it so well because that's where my Chiron is. And when I discovered that, I looked back on my life and saw how I've believed success, that's the way I value and approve of myself, and identifying that Chiron and Aries, wounding and value and worth, I've been able over the last few years to just approve of myself exactly as I am, really like sit in this love for myself, this understanding without having to do so much. And because of that, I'm more rested, I'm more energized. I take a lot of walks in nature and just really being with myself instead of doing so much. And it's attracted to me all the people and things that I've wanted by not overperforming. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does very much so. And so again, look down or head to my website to look at these links. I'm definitely going to go and do this and figure out what that is. And it feels to me as if all of these things, human design, astrology, they're just kind of like guidelines, reminders, or ways to help us explore inside, explore what's going on with us. Am I getting
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah. Like I hear you talking about our inner landscape, and these are all paradigms and ways my book included that you, since we're also uniquely individualized, Lauren, like some things resonate with you, with me, with our audience, and not for others. And so I wanted to contribute, what I found to be true. And astrology is just that diagnostic point. I see astrology as a beautiful roadmap, as like a map of the stars when you were born, and these planets correlate to propensities and patterns and abilities that we have our free will to choose, if we want to do and be this or not. And there's so much information now available to heal ourselves, whether it's working with a therapist, as I started when I was 21 and as I do now, or if it's through metaphysical practices, meditation and prayer, and being in nature, if you're not into, say, the spiritual aspects of life, but just the awareness that we're all connected. And I think that's so important. I've been sharing lately, Lauren, just how important we are as individuals, as well as that person next to us, and bringing that awareness into our lives can just make it easier for us. I wonder if you found that to be
Yes,
true.
absolutely. The more we realize that, yes, we are perfect and whole and unique in ourselves, and yet there's no place where I end and you begin. That
Yes,
our spirit, our energy is all, yeah, is all one. And I
yes,
find that so comforting.
I do
And
too.
yeah, and it's so much easier to look at everyone with love and kindness when you think of them as no different than that
Yes.
as an extension of yourself, as being all one part of this great spirit and energy. Oh, so good. So good. All right. So that this feels like a good time to
Yes, it is.
what exactly do you mean by core wounds?
Sure. So core wounds, like I was saying moments ago, this is a spectrum. On one end is core wounding, like a deep abandonment when there's been trauma, sexual abuse, for example, emotional abuse, physical abuse. That kind of trauma leads to a core wound where the person, often the child, doesn't feel worthy because they're not being valued, they're not being respected. And it sets up a fear-based mindset where you may go through life, fearing love, believing love is, that anger, that it's to be feared, that it comes with great cost. And so you might overprotect your heart, and keep yourself from love, not intentionally, like deeply wanting it. But when you haven't had the experience of healthy love, you tend to shy away from the things that hurt you. I talk about that in my book. It's like you put your hand on a hot stove and it's like, oh, I'm never doing that again.
I,
Often these pain point experiences create that same emotion within us when it comes to relationships, to experiences and people. And yet, fearing love, for example, it keeps us from the joy of love, the support of love, the deliciousness of love. And for others on that spectrum, it's, all the way down the line of vulnerability. This may be an area of vulnerability that, you don't, nobody would know you have low self-esteem because outside on paper you're so successful. But it helps to know that, to strengthen that area of yourself so you don't struggle in your own mind with self-esteem, for example. Or at work, Chiron and Capricorn, this wounding, this vulnerability in the areas of achievement and success. Others might take credit for your work and you don't get the credit you deserve. And it's learning to start speaking up for yourself, for example, and saying, no, actually, I did that. That you start to shift the pattern and be valued for what you are doing. So these 12 areas of vulnerability up to and including core wounding can help you either step more in to your life in some ways that you most deeply desire, or it might allow you to not do as much and learn to relax some more, for example, to receive.
Okay, that's absolutely awesome. All right, so another term that I came across that I'm not familiar with is psychoastrology. Is
Yes.
that kind of what you've been talking about? But yeah,
It
define
is.
that a little
I trademarked psychoastrology to simply mark this intersection between our personal psychology and our natal, our birth chart astrology. It's that simple. It's that intersection of this roadmap for our lives, for ourselves. And when we have that awareness, it gives us more choice. Do I want to live into this aspect of my chart, for example, or do I want to be different? That free will, again, our personal responsibility is what dictates the life that we live. We get to create that. It's not, up to anyone else but ourselves to create our lives. And I think, for a bit that felt kind of scary to me, like, oh my gosh, I don't know, that feels like a lot of pressure or responsibility, but we can access knowledge and information and learn and develop ourselves in the area that, or two, that we feel like we're deficient or don't know enough. We can educate ourselves. And so don't be scared about creating your life, really being the master of your life, we hear. And it's in these ways that we find our happiness and our meaning and purpose.
Okay. All right. So first go and figure out where. what do you call it? Your Chiron
Where
sign?
Chiron is. Yeah, where Chiron is in your birth chart, what
Okay.
sign it's in. And if you know the time of birth, that will give you the house placement. There's 12 houses of the zodiac. The first house, for example, has to do with your personality, your physical body, your self-esteem, whereas say the fourth house has to do with your home, both your family of origin home and the home you have now. And so again, if you don't have your time of birth, you're going to know what area of your life this is operating in, because it's going to be very clear to you when you read about your Chiron placement.
Right. Okay. And all right. So, and then what? What's the next step after
Well, in my book, I
discovering
actually lay it out from page one. I invite readers to really start at page one, where I invite you to be the container for change.
this?
And I see us as vessels, and we get to fill ourselves. We feed ourselves with food and drink, and also with what we listen to. Consumption is more than just, the body, our food and beverages. It's what you watch, what you listen to, who you spend time with. So I invite you to get a journal, to light a candle, take 20 minutes each reading session, because I share with you some of my memories, and I invite you to tap into your own remembrance of times in your life growing up when you both felt loved and unloved. And so it's like a process we walk through from page one all the way through the end, so that you really get to deeply understand who you are more than what you may right now, and apply some takeaway steps that I offer. I give practical steps that you can start to change your patterns, as well as affirmations that you can start speaking to yourself in your own mind about.
Fabulous. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm definitely getting a copy of the book, and I skimmed over it, but to prepare for this, but I like to be fresh and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, and come with an open mind and just ask the questions that are on my heart. Um, okay, so very, very cool. Tell us a little bit about the All Things Therapy podcast. What do you do over there?
Yeah, I have been a podcaster for 6 years. Next month will be my 6-year anniversary, over 285 weekly episodes. And my mission is to change consciousness one conversation at a time, because I believe it's through like this experience that we're having, Lauren, talking about some things we both share and love about life and believe are true, and also some new information coming your way. And it's up to us to pick what works and leave the rest. So I really love being a podcaster. I've started in the last year to do some solo episodes talking about things like I did last week, like, am I being tested? This notion that God is testing us, and things about, how to find a good therapist. What is therapy? What is the purpose? How is it different than your friendships and relationships? That was several weeks ago. So I've been taking on these topics that clients come to me with, that I talk about with friends, to just, share information with the world, as you do through your show.
Right. Fabulous. Very awesome. I'm so very happy that our paths crossed and I got
Me
you.
too.
Yeah. All right. So anything else that you want to add before we wrap things up for today? This has been very, very full, and now I have homework.
Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate this time with you and with our audience. And I just invite everyone, if there's one kind of practical tip to leave, it's something that's really been awesome in my life, is I started a manifestation journal last year, and it's separate from any other journal you have. It's just a notebook that I got, and I write down as things that I really want to see in my life, as they manifest in physical reality. I just simply write how happy and grateful I am. And the things I want to manifest, I just write in advance. I get into that feeling place of what it's going to be like to have those experiences. And I write from that place, like, thank you that I'm now in this relationship, that I now am spending this money, that I now am, talking to these individuals. So I invite you to just do something like that for yourself and see how the year unfolds for you.
Absolutely. We teach a very similar practice of creating a vision for your life, or the way you want things
Yes.
to unfold, and engaging with that every day, and being the person that's already living the life that's full of all of these things and people and experiences that you want for your future, right?
Yes to that.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, it's Lisa Tahir. The name of her book is The Chiron Effect. Say the subtitle, because
Healing our core wounds through astrology, empathy, and self-forgiveness.
Astrology, empathy, and self-forgiveness. And we're going to provide a link to her website so you can go and figure out where the magical Chiron is in your chart and how to proceed from that. So we'll be back soon with another great interview. Be sure to check out the meditations and other talks that are here on Insight Timer and on the website. And as always, I loved having you here. Thank you, Lisa, for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you, Lauren.
Awesome. We'll be back soon. In the meantime, remember, happiness is a choice. You can always choose to be happy first. I'll see you soon.